Thanks for coming out. My name is Jeff Lung. I'm a visual artist. I have an area in the lobby with some of my original artwork up, also some reproductions, some prints. I'll be out there after the show if you'd like to talk a little bit to me. Be happy to tell you more, especially about my workshops that I do, where I use a style of art called neurographic art, which is accessible to anyone, no talent necessary, that helps you deal with trauma and especially PTSD. That's something that's helped me throughout my life, which I'm going to explain here in a little bit, and also it helps others. So I'm happy to talk to you more about that. And yes, I do have a fanny pack, so let me just hide that. So yeah, I got one clap for the fanny pack, all right. Never going to put that away. So in February of 2020, my wife left me. And then in March 2020, we all know what happened then. COVID happened. And so suddenly I found myself stuck at home all by myself with nothing to do. And it was just me and my thoughts. And they were dark. They were very dark. I never thought I was going to get divorced. I didn't want to get divorced. But I had made some errors in my marriage and she was done with me. And so I had to sit in that. And so I didn't know how to deal with the issues I was dealing with the ruminations specifically. I had a really, really rough time. The 3 years that followed, I struggled to save my marriage and my business, both which were in peril because of the situation of the world. So I survived the only way I knew how, and that was by escaping. So escaping through art in particular. I've always been an artist. I've always been drawing my whole life. I found out at 5 years old when my parents, who hated each other, screaming, fighting, physical abuse, all kinds of crazy stuff going on in my home, I found that I could escape by creating worlds of my own on paper. And so that's what I did. I just escaped, went to a different place. Later in my life, in my early 20s, I got really into drugs, selling drugs in particular. And I got caught. I was selling ecstasy in bulk, and I got incarcerated. So I went to prison. And it was in prison where I realized real quick that I better find a way to survive. And well, I had one talent, and that was drawing. So I found out that I could translate my ability to draw portraits for protection and for food or whatever I needed. That's how I survived. I survived by art, by drawing. And then here we are again in 2020. My life is falling apart. What am I going to do? Let me just draw. So I drew all day long, started painting, and just found escape through that. Art kept me sane, but unfortunately, in the end, I did lose both my marriage and my business that I had. So with a new reality in front of me and an apartment full of artworks, I decided I needed to do something different. So I moved here to Conroe. I lived in Chicago. That's where I lived most of my life. But my parents moved to Conroe 20 years ago to get away from the cold, and so I decided, me too, I'm going to do that. I'm going to move down here and enjoy the warm weather, and then try to find a new career in art with all this stuff that I have. And so I did that, but it didn't stop the ruminations in my head. I still felt like a loser, worthless. You know, I lost my business, I lost my wife, I lost everything that was important to me. You know, I really struggled with the self-talk, just the self-loathing. That's something that happened to me when I was locked up, is you're taught that you're garbage, you're trash, you're not worthy of anything. And this it did a number on me. And so here I am in a new place. I didn't have any friends here. And though I had some success, you know, as a professional artist, you know, I'm finding success in doing exhibitions, gallery shows, festivals, commission artwork. I do live paintings, demos, workshops, classes. I do whatever I can to survive. I have to hustle, but I still couldn't get my mind to shut off. So, you know, I can only draw so much. I can only paint so much. And I was just blessed to have that, but I still couldn't get the thoughts out of my head. I couldn't get the self-loathing, and it ended up being around 2023, started having suicidal thoughts. And I just didn't want to be here anymore. I didn't feel like I deserved to be here anymore. Everything that I worked hard for was gone. And it was then, as I was contemplating how I could end my life in a way that wouldn't create a mess for my parents, I have one last hope, and that's when me, a lifelong atheist and ridiculer of Christianity and all religion, decided to wander into a church that had a beacon of hope with a big sign on Fish Creek that said, "Be love, be peace, be hope." It was my last hope. I went in, and by the grace of God, I found the love of Jesus Christ. And thank you. Yeah, thank Him. And it didn't happen overnight. It took a couple of years. But when it did, man, it happened. And now everything is not perfect. Guess what? It's not perfect. But it's better. I have love, I have peace, I have hope. And now the artwork that I create is also helping others because it's more inspired. It comes from a place of hope, a place of grace. And so I would love to talk to anybody who wants to know more about my artwork out there in the lobby. I'll be here all night. I thank you very much for your time. I thank you for listening to me. And God bless.